The Chao Phraya River cuts right through Bangkok, carrying the city's commerce, its waste, and periodically its dead. Between 1999 and 2019, this water claimed 17 individuals linked to a single organization. For Detective Sergeant Krisada Moonthong, the bodies presented a forensic paradox. He faced a continuous stream of fatalities tied to the Sangdao Foundation, yet every death was officially ruled an accidental drowning or suicide. There was no physical trauma, no signs of struggle, no evidence of a physical crime. The Sangdao Foundation was effectively untouchable. Backed by 300,000 registered followers, with millions in charitable donations, and direct ties to sitting cabinet ministers, the organization maintained an absolutely unblemished public face. To investigate a killer who leaves no physical evidence at the crime scene, Krisada realized he had to look elsewhere. He needed to map the psychological architecture of the cult itself. This chart plots the official police timeline. 18 months after the sect's founding in 1997, the fatalities begin. The data shows 12 distinct points over 2 decades where a practitioner was recovered. Handled by different district precincts in isolation, investigators saw only standalone events rapidly stamped as accidents. But an independent case file revealed a shadow dataset. Cross-referenced with missing persons reports, connected disappearances rose to 17. Serapon's records exposed a strict operational protocol. Within 48 hours of a death, sect representatives intercepted the grieving families, managing logistics and ensuring rapid cremations before autopsies could be performed. This level of rapid response requires institutional information management. These victims did not wander into the water by chance. They were the end products of a highly organized, systemic process. To understand how the organization captured these individuals, investigators examined the psychological entry points. The first profile is Priyana Kongkao, a 20-year-old afferent recovered from the river. Priyana had a documented history of clinical mental illness. Under a conventional model of cult dynamics, she represents a traditional target, someone whose psychological distress makes them highly susceptible to external control. But the second profile contradicts that model. Malika Chen was a 21-year-old nursing student at a prestigious university. Her medical records show zero history of mental illness. Malika existed in a state of high-pressure academic exhaustion. She was functioning at a high level but was effectively depleted, searching for validation and a sense of meaning outside her rigorous daily schedule. Forensic psychiatrist Dr. Sumali Apirat piras these disparate profiles. This diagram illustrates her findings. While Prina and Malika had radically different mental health baselines, they shared a persistent, unresolved need for completion. Coercive control identifies a subject already in motion, searching for answers, and weaponizes their own psychological void. The group positions itself as the ultimate solution to whatever the target feels they lack. The mechanics of this capture were recorded in digital forensics recovered from Malika's abandoned phone. Investigators found an extended text exchange with an anonymous sect mentor, identified only as elder sibling. The mentor employed a specific tactical pattern. They asked probing questions that invited deep self-disclosure, then aggressively validated Malika's fears and insecurities. The external world is slowly displaced. Validation from friends and family is swapped for the specific, conditional approval of the inner circle. Through these interactions, the outside world, and eventually the victim's own family, are implicitly reframed as the primary drivers of the victim's suffering. In her final weeks, Malika's vocabulary undergoes a hard shift. Her normal conversational language drops away, replaced entirely by sect-sourced concepts. She stops talking about daily stress and begins texting about the void and dissolving. The adoption of this vocabulary demonstrates that the victim is no longer processing reality through their own identity. They are thinking entirely within the architect's closed loop. That architect was sect leader Fra Ajahn Sombun. He did not rely on charisma alone. He developed a highly specific, comprehensive methodology for psychological alteration. This diagram outlines his curriculum. Stages 1 through 4 provide legitimate reinforcement, but at stages 5 and 6, the operation shifts, subjecting adherents to severe sleep deprivation and sensory isolation. This drives the subject toward stage 7, the void, designed to achieve absolute ego boundary dissolution. This curriculum prepares the adherent for a final threshold where individual survival is reframed as a secondary concern to the goal of spiritual completion. The physical evidence verifies this conditioning. This autopsy schematic for Prina Kankwa isolates extremities, systemic, and neurological data. At the extremities, pathologists found small, precise incisions on her palms and soles, but a total absence of defensive wounds. She was not bound or struggling. Systemic toxicology reveals traces of a naturally occurring alkaloid. This compound originates in northern Thailand, historically used in isolated cultural ceremonies to induce disassociation. In controlled doses, this chemical forces a detachment from the sense of self, creating a sensation of total vacancy. The most critical evidence is neurological. Post-mortem chemical signatures in the victims' brains allowed specialists to reconstruct their final EEG patterns. At the exact moment they were drowning, their brains were locked in the deepest measurable state of advanced meditation. The lungs filled with water, while the body remained in a state of voluntary relaxation. The physical forensics align perfectly with the psychological model to show exactly how the survival instinct was bypassed. Sambun did not commit murder in the conventional sense. He engineered a protocol that rendered the distinction between life and death obsolete to his followers. By stacking the dissociative alkaloid on top of extreme psychosocial deprivation, the organization bypassed the autonomic human survival instinct. The ultimate proof of this suppression exists in Malika's final video message, recorded just before her death. She displays no fear, only an expression of terrifying, absolute peace. This creates an impossible legal paradox. The law has no statute for a self-inflicted death induced by systematic, weaponized spiritual liberation. The Sengdao case proves that a framework built on total psychological capture can achieve outcomes that conventional violence cannot, creating a lethal system that remains largely resilient to the law.